Hey, Dr. Jack, are you working on anything you want to show?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let me turn things around. I've gotten tired talking about couplers. No. There you go. So,
Oh my gosh.
I was going to talk about paints and colors. You know, as hairy as to engines, I'm the building man. And do you have the building I sent you?
Yeah.
Is it there?
Yeah, you want me to go get it?
Yeah. So what I'm going to
Yeah, hold
just
on.
talk to, and you guys probably know this, but just the different paints. I've been doing and using Cobra models long before Steve got it. Some of you probably know the history. It's gone through multiple owners over the years, and the molds have actually changed over the years, and they've gotten a lot better. But what I love about the Cobra models is one, they do require a fair amount of work. They're not like a plastic model where everything fits together perfectly. And I kind of enjoy working with it. The thing about Cobra, and I'm not quite sure why, but every time I try to paint a plastic building, I never get it to look that realistic. It's okay. But a Korber building, there's something about the texture, and Steve may know more, and the irregularity that just gives it a reality that seems to be very different from a regular building. Let me turn on the lights. So I'm working on this one right now, and I'm also adjusting because normally I use little bulbs, and I'm going to LEDs. And these are ones that Steve sent me recently. They're a bit of a pain because you got to glue the arm to the shade, but it's not too bad. And what I love about all the stuff from Evans is you can go anywhere from like 9 to 17 volts, either AC or DC. So one of the things I was going to talk about is trying to make concrete. I have always found realistic concrete fairly difficult to do. So I use Krylon, and don't use, what's the other company? What am I trying to say? The other big company that makes spray paint.
Rust-Oleum.
Yeah. For some reason, Rust-Oleum just doesn't adhere very well to whatever the Cobra kits are made of. Is it a urethane or what is it, Steve?
I'd have to send you the MSDS sheet.
Yeah, don't worry
all
about it. Yeah, all right. Whatever it is, I learned a long time ago, don't use Rust-Oleum. The Krylon adheres perfectly. So the gray is great for starting out making concrete. And then I dry brush with like a beige or a sand color just to kind of give it some irregularity. And then I finish it off with chalks. And you know, Bragdon, unlike what Harry's showing, which is a bit of work, but a lot of people do it, Bragdon makes all these different chalks already powders. Like here I have 3 different types of rust. Here I have dirt. You can get a million combinations. So then I go back and then I put a little bit of the grimy chalk on it, and then I cover it with dull coat. And I've been pretty happy with it over the years as far trying to give a reasonable looking concrete. All right. Now, as far as doing the
What's
brick.
that? Hey, Jack, what's that company that's got the company that's got the chalk?
Bragdon, hang on. he's had it, he's been doing it for years. It's called the Bragdon Weather Systems. Can you
All
guys
right,
see it?
Bragdon. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have the energy to do the shaving that Harry does. And I mean, my goodness, you can go nuts with all the different shades and colors he makes. Here's a kit with just about every color and shade that they make. But primarily what I use is the different shades of rust and the grime. And I do it exactly like Harry talked about, that on bolts is where you see rust mostly. But I really like Bragdon over the years. Okay, so that's the concrete on the base. Then the concrete on the building. Again, I think I talked about it. I like the Art Deco, the Deco art paints that you can get at Michael's. And this color is called beige. And I painted the the concrete with beige. And then I went back and dry brushed it a little bit with like a black or a gray, and then finished it with chalk. And I think it gives a pretty good type of concrete that you would see in buildings like that. As far as the brick, Steve and his wife have done a beautiful description in the kits about, painting and then wiping it off using a dilute color to get that kind of mortar look. But I just find that I just can't get this kind of look with plastic. And then the final thing is getting great shades. Harry's got a technique, but it's very complicated. I use 60 grit sandpaper and I cut out the parts. Let me turn this around. Okay, so I've got a back in here and I use 60 grit sandpaper and I use the other side and it's stiff, light doesn't go through it. And it's just an easy way to make shades. And then I just tape it in. If you use a thinner sandpaper, the light tends to go through it. And then the other thing is, there's lots of ways of lighting the building. But what I like are the lights that you get from Evans that are for the automobiles. Because with each resistor, you get 4 lights. So you don't have to fiddle a lot. So the 8 lights in here only have 2 resistors and it already comes connected. Now the gooseneck lamps that Steve got me onto, you have to attach the resistor to it and then just a connection for it. So it's a simple way of doing it. And I just use lots of black tape in there. I have finished the standard furniture. I'm going to add lights to that. And this particular kit, Steve has sent me probably half a dozen over the years, and I just have cut it up to make some really large buildings. And the walls are fantastic for modifying and making buildings. Do you have the small building I sent you?
Yeah. You want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, so I've made 2 of those. And the only thing that I think is relevant is making the, not brickwork, the stonework on the bottom. And what I do is first I paint it with that Rust-Oleum gray. Then I do a light wash of the same I use for mortar. And then I go back after it's all dry with a very, very dilute, either ink or black. And it kind of soaks into the stone. Here, let me show this one. Is this showing up, that stonework?
Yeah.
And it's just a nice way of creating different ways, and you can change the amount of white or gray or black to give yourself different stone. And what's nice is that dilute black runs into the lower crevices and it gives kind of a detailed mortar look. This is another one I just finished with the lights in it and the building. But I
Can you
just
talk
really
about
enjoy
the roof, Jack?
the roof.
Did you do something? Yeah, did you do something different? Did you use your black tape up there or anything?
Yeah. So just in the center, it gives you a nicer joint. When those two halves come together, it's not really a perfect joint. And adding a little bit of tape on there and then painting it black. You can also do a strip of plastic. Like right now, I'm also working on the sand tower. So here's the building to the sand tower, okay? And first I dry brushed it with the light beige to highlight the ribs, then after a gray, and then the bottom, all of that is chalk. I love the different colored chalks, but the challenge always with these Cobra kits is trying to get some of the roofs to come back together. And so what I did is there's just a strip of plastic up there, and the strip of plastic was put first, and then I just painted it over. So sometimes I use tape, but this roof really looks nice as it is. So a lot of, really, if you look at it, I use gray. I first spray all the brick with the primer, the red oxide, again, use Krylon, and then a lot of the different colors you can get at Michael's. And then you can get even the small pouches from Bragdon of like rust. And they're great, and you don't have to sit there scraping with a knife. That's it.
So on this one, on the roof, you used a piece of channel plastic, is that right? To create that
Exactly.
center?
Yeah, I couldn't get
Yeah.
that center to match. So I just used that.
That's
And it,
really nice.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
gave you, and I've done that in a bunch of my other buildings. It just saves time because you can sit there spending the rest of your life trying to get those two to mesh. And it just
Yeah.
gives you a nice contour.
We might
But-
have to put that in the kit, Jack.
A little
You
piece
know,
of
we might
channel.
have to, yeah, put a little piece of channel in the kit.
Yeah,
You know?
it when you say channel, if you look at it from the underside, it's like a U shape. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I've got a bunch of pieces of those, and I've used them all over. And it's a nice way of just filling it in. So my wife doesn't kill me. Steve has sent me about a dozen kits, and I'm having a real good time putting them together, but I have absolutely no place to put them. So Steve, you do whatever you want with them.
Yeah, I'll get you some boxes. That I particularly like that one, Jack. That's really beautiful how you did that. Looks really good.
And I'll tell you, even though you've got to do some fiddling, the stuff fits together. Oh, finally, just gluing these is not really much support. So what I did is I drilled a little hole in the back, and I put a little brass rod through there and through the wall. And so these are held up with a little brass rod. And that way
Good.
it just makes it a lot more secure.
That's great.
Jack, when you do Miller Engineering signs, or if you do Miller Engineering signs,
I've got a bunch of them.
what's your own technique of putting them into a roof?
Okay, so Miller Engineering are very thin and unstable. okay? And the problem is you sometimes have to do some backing. Here,
Right.
I'm going in my train room. Hang on. And yeah, I've got a lot of theirs. He's a fit. Do you know the history of that company?
No,
He was an automotive engineer and he came up and was working on this concept. And I forgot the technical name for these signs. Okay.
Oh,
back Jack.
Ah,
there you are. Nope, that's done. Come on, Jack.
can you see me?
No,
No, I just see your name. You too far away from the router?
No, I hit something. Okay. Safe driving mode. I don't want the safe driving mode. Who did this to me?